because we need legislation. We need municipal ordinances on the city level to really fix this problem.
Alleged tax fraud in the construction industry is taking away hard-earned money from workers. What the Texas Contractors Union is now doing to combat that.
A weather alert this evening, tracking severe thunderstorms. I'll let you know where the highest risks are, what the threats are, and when all of this moves out.
Masks could soon no longer be required on public transportation. The arguments for and against ending the mandate.
Now your Storm Tracker weather.
It's already been a busy night. A tornado watch is in effect for the CBS Austin viewing area tonight. This, a calm scene over Lake Travis. It was much more hectic earlier tonight. CBS Austin Chief Meteorologist Chicago Windler tracking those severe weather threats. The storm spotters reported a tornado on the ground northeast in northern Williamson County.
They did. About 5:30 to 5:38 is when the first reports came in. And here's a picture of what it looked like to the northwest of Jarrell. This is from Graham & Sons Cattle Company. I did just get some information in that there is some damage that has been reported preliminarily by a storm spotter. It is apparently at Cedar Valley Road and FM 2843. Multiple structures damaged, power line poles snapped, multiple trees down from tornado damage. That's going to be far northern Williamson County and southern Bell County. Good news. This storm has dissipated. It is no longer a threat. Better news. Currently, there are no severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings for the CBS Austin area. The lone severe thunderstorm warning that had been in effect for hail over Jarrell a few minutes ago has expired. I've only got one storm I'm tracking here currently on radar. It is not a big one heading through northeastern sections of Burnett County. That said, the tornado watch has not yet been cleared. So Burnett, Blanco, Williamson, Travis, Hayes, and Milan counties still technically under a tornado watch, and we're going to keep a close eye out. But the clouds that were billowing earlier have cleared out. More stable air has moved in, and the heaviest of the storms have pushed off toward the north. Good news, though. The storm, the tornado that started northeast of Florence and then moved to near Salado, that tornado has lifted. Currently still a lot of thunder, lightning, and nasty hail makers, but no tornado on the ground anymore.
Thanks, Chicago. This is what the scene looked like out in Gatesville. Storm tracker Bob Pack following the storm here. Coryell County was under a tornado warning until 5:45 this evening. Social media users taking to Twitter to post the weather and what it looks like from their point of view. Early on in the afternoon, big clouds rolled into central Texas from the west. One user claims they caught a funnel cloud on camera in Flat, Texas. Video and pictures also show rotations in Jarrell. Do you have video or pictures of severe weather you'd like to share with us that you were able to capture in a safe place? Visit the Chime In page on our CBS Austin website. Go to cbsaustin.com and be sure to include your name and location. Your submission could be featured on air or online at CBS Austin. Construction workers are banding together to get overtime pay and other benefits. They say too many aren't being treated fairly, and it's the contractors who come out ahead. We're talking about tax fraud in some cases. CBS Austin's Betty Cross reports the tax fraud means Texans aren't getting the money they deserve, and Texas is failing to get over $1 billion each in federal taxes. So that's the concern.
It's part of an underground economy.
Illegal activities in the construction industry have state and local leaders demanding change.
I call it tax fraud as a business plan because that's exactly what it is.
Jason Ingalls represents the Central South Carpenters Union. He says when contractors pay construction workers cash under the table or inappropriately designate them as independent contractors, it has crippling effects on the community.
It hurts us all, right? It hurts those workers and their families.
Specifically, tax fraud means workers can't get much needed benefits.
It robs individual workers of overtime wages, workers' compensation benefits, and other essential benefits.
A recent study found that 46% of construction workers rely on federal programs like Medicaid and food stamps to make ends meet.
There are times when they don't pay you overtime, and at the end of the day, you are alone.
Enrique Garza says it's time that workers and local leaders stand together to stop the problems caused by misclassification of workers.
Many contractors in the city are committing fraud. They are not paying their taxes and are not paying their workers for overtime worked.
To help, Austin set up a searchable database on the city's website to improve transparency and help identify criminal violators.
There's no excuse for the city contracting with contractors who are not following the law and who are not treating their workers appropriately.
Today, the Carpenters Union is asking the City Council to go a step further and put teeth into local ordinances that will hold violators responsible. Betty Cross, CBS Austin News.
A 19-year-old woman is accused of hitting high schoolers with a chair at a baseball game. Police say they were called out to a St. Michael's Academy gym Saturday for reports of 40 people fighting. Two 14-year-olds and a 15-year-old say they were hit, and police even noticed a bump on one of the victims' head. Nariah Gibbs admitted to throwing two chairs but says she wasn't sure if anyone was hit. In a statement to CBS Austin, a representative with St. Michael's says this was an incident involving a third party that rented out their gyms. A 41-year-old man is facing injury to a child charges after a deadly crash in South Austin Sunday evening. It happened around 5:40 near Marcus Abrams Boulevard and Menchaca Road. Police say Xavier Zarate was going after two 13-year-olds he says were throwing feces at his house. When he found the teens, he got out of his car and allegedly started punching them. That's when witnesses say Zarate's car, who his 4-year-old child was in, rolled over one of the teens. Police believe the car was never put in park. The teen was rushed to the hospital but died from his injuries. Within days, it's expected the CDC will offer new guidance on whether or not the federal mask mandate on public transportation should continue. It's set to expire on Monday. Liz Bonus shares what public health advisors are considering now.
There are lots of reasons to have masks on in certain spaces. For example, here in a medical setting, they kind of make sense. But the CDC expected to issue this new guidance based on a couple things. And keep in mind, you can always choose to do one-way masking either way.
White House COVID-19 response coordinator Dr. Ashish Jha says data from the CDC will be the first consideration.
I think everything is still on the table. We don't want to prejudge this. We want to look at what the evidence says and what the framework shows, and then use that as a decision-making tool.
The CEOs of several major airlines have already asked the federal mask mandate be removed. They argue, much like the streetcar industry, that long before COVID-19 already had next-level air filtration. That lowers viral transmission risk.
2019, we actually upped the filter, so when COVID came along, we were already in a good place when it came with the filtration.
Sanitation also frequent on most public transportation venues, sometimes at every stop.
It's great to be able to respond in such a positive manner and let the public see that we're responding. That's the biggest difference.
The CDC, however, likely to consider that social distancing in public transportation is limited, especially for workers.
We're working in these small enclosed spaces, right? And I think that's why those mask mandates are still there.
And even though COVID-19 case rates in the U.S. are some of the lowest since last summer, the CDC also likely to consider that airlines bring together international travelers. Our World in Data reports that less than 60% of the world's population is fully vaccinated. And because of this, we're extremely vulnerable to new variants, such as the BA2 variant, up 40% in the U.S. in the past 2 weeks.
Now, they also could kind of split this guidance and have some differences based on community for things such as buses and for streetcars, and still make you put these back on when it comes to the airlines. I'm medical reporter Liz Bonus. Now back to you.
Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport claims to be the top spot of the world's busiest airports, according to the Airports Council International. 75.7 million passengers traveled through it last year alone. That is busy. Dallas-Fort Worth International got the second top spot. Less children in schools than before due to COVID lockdowns. Now, Austin ISD's enrollment numbers have changed. We'll tell you if they're going up or down. Registration is up more than 100% for Austin ISD pre-K and kindergarten compared to last spring. The district has already enrolled an additional 2,300 students. Last week, AISD held its Early Learning Day to encourage families with young children to enroll. That event added 858 registrations. The district says it saw the largest decrease in enrollment among pre-K and kindergarten through the COVID-19 pandemic. It's been 3 weeks since a tornado swept through Round Rock. Why homeowners are thankful despite a low repair process.
And we know at least one tornado has touched down so far this evening. I'm tracking the potential of any more severe thunderstorms, plus the fire danger that we still are going to have to contend with coming up.
You're watching CBS Austin News at 6:30. Central Texas. Trusted.
It's been a busy night. A tornado touched down near Jarrell this afternoon around 5:30. Emergency crews worked to block off I-35 in Bell County as the massive storm crossed the Pan American Highway. It was quickly traveling east, heading to Salado, causing traffic to come to a standstill. In Round Rock, it's been nearly 3 weeks since a tornado swept through neighborhoods, and the work is far from over. CBS Austin's Jessica Taylor checked out the neighborhood off Oxford Boulevard, where residents are still trying to get repairs done.
Everywhere you look, there are things being repaired and things that still need fixing. I spoke with one homeowner that says the community has been helpful, but dealing with insurance is another story. Over the past couple of weeks, Jason Pineda has done his own cleanup of the debris tossed around his backyard from the tornado while he waits on insurance. Most of the damage to his home occurred on the backside and roof. He says the process with insurance and contractors has been difficult, and a few contractors never even showed up. Despite the confusion, he's thankful his family is safe and for the neighborly support.
Now we're a little bit kind of behind the 8 ball in regards to getting things repaired because we're expecting a storm tonight. And you know, a lot of us still have like tarps on our houses and haven't gotten completed.
Jason says there have been many neighbors and crews cleaning up his street without recognition, and he wants them to know he appreciates all their hard work. I also spoke with the Texas Department of Insurance today, and their spokesperson says if you still haven't seen an adjuster by this point, you can call the department and file a complaint. They also say that you can call if you need help reaching an agreement with your insurance later down the road. Jessica Taylor, CBS Austin News.
Now, your storm tracker weather with Chief Meteorologist Chicago Windler.
At this point, I'm thinking that the worst of the storm threat has come and gone, but we still have a tornado watch in effect for some of our counties. And speaking of which, this video in from Justin Davis, the tornado northwest of Jarrell, reportedly did cause some damage about 7 miles or 8 miles northwest of Jarrell. So we've heard that there were some power lines, some structures that were damaged. And look at the size of this thing as it's spinning around. You can see that rotation. The tornado warning was issued right before 5:30. It expired for Williamson County at 5:45. Here's another shot of that same tornado. This from Graham & Sons Cattle Company, as taken from Jarrell looking to the north, and I've seen some big hail that fell in Salado with that same storm system. Now here's a look in Austin, and if you look in the distance, I mean, the sun's out, and you may be wondering, are we okay? The dry line has shifted. It looks as though Austin has avoided the threat this go around. Very lucky, but you can see how close it came. Southwesterly winds, an indication of that dry line pushing through for our western hill country communities and even the eastern hill country. To the south and east, though, we still have a southerly warm, moist flow, so don't let your guard totally down, but it appears that the worst of the threat is going to stay to our north. There was a nasty storm that dropped 2-inch diameter hail down in San Antonio. It has simply dissipated. We no longer have any warnings in effect for our area. The watch still in place until 11 o'clock, though I expect it will be allowed to expire much earlier than that. So the big story is going to be looking at damage. How bad was it? And I do suspect that there will be a few locations that will be doing some cleanup, especially into Bell County. Also wanted to let you know that there is not a warning for it. A very little tiny cell in far northeastern Burnett County near Ocala is the only storm that I'm currently watching. It may have some small hail with it, and it is tracking eastward, heading toward the Maxdale area. So aside from that, all of the action is to the north. Good news, though, earlier Salado was under a tornado warning. That tornado has wrapped up. It has lifted. There's no longer a tornado on the ground, but there are flash flood issues there. And you can see more thunderstorms continuing to brew toward the east of the I-35 corridor. So the Storm Prediction Center hasn't let go of that threat just yet, but I do think that we've pretty much made it through the worst. Scary anytime we have to deal with a tornado threat. Let's talk about what's ahead. Through the next several hours, if we see any additional storms develop, you can see these looking to weaken toward 8 o'clock. maybe a few stray showers by 9 o'clock, and that's it. So I think we have pretty much run out of potential for any additional storms out of this. Tomorrow morning, there's going to be a cold front pushing through. With it, we could see a stray non-severe storm or a shower, and putting it a 20% chance. Then tomorrow in the afternoon, the big story is going to be fire danger. How about soaring up to 93 degrees as well? A little bit cooler for Thursday and Friday. Then we look to Easter weekend. We may have a couple of showers or an isolated storm here or there.
President Biden has another plan to try to help drive down fuel costs, allowing the sale of a gas that uses a 15% ethanol blend through the summer.
E15 is about 10 cents a gallon cheaper than E10, and some gas stations offer an even bigger discount.
The sale of this E15 gasoline is usually prohibited in the warmer summer months due to emissions concerns. The president also announced an investment in new meat and poultry processing to help with those costs. A government report shows consumer prices jumped 8.5% in March, the fastest inflation rate since 1981. Now through April 24th, you can get an ice cream cone at Dairy Queen for just 3/4. That's 75 cents. The promotion is celebrating 75 years of DQ in Texas. After the break, a final check of the weather with CBS Austin Chief Meteorologist, Chicago Winner. It's been a busy night for Central Texas. Take a look at this. The worst is likely over, but we're not out of the woods completely just yet. Our area is still under a watch for now. Williamson County deputies say they saw two separate tornadoes, one in Florence around 524 and the other one in Jarrell at 536. Deputies closed off north and southbound traffic on I-35 near mile marker 278. That's how big of a deal it was. They shut down I-35. Some homes have reported some minor damage. Let's toss it over to Chief Meteorologist Chicago Winner with a final check of the weather. Chicago?
I have some good news. The National Weather Service says they do believe that the threat has pretty much dissipated for our area. The only concern is because the storms in Bell County are not moving all that quickly, there may be a few outflows that we have to watch for in northern Burnett and northern Williamson County. But for all practical purposes, we have managed to avoid the worst. Hopefully there wasn't more significant damage. We'll keep you updated.
Thanks, Chicago. We'll see you back here at 10.